When you think of football, you probably think of the beautiful game. But it wasn't always so beautiful. In fact, it started out as a brutal, chaotic free-for-all. So how on earth did it go from a vicious brawl to the world's most popular sport? Well, it all came down to a simple set of rules. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's kick things off by rewinding the clock way back. We're going to look at the early days of football, and trust me, when I say it was a wild time, I mean the game is almost unrecognizable from what we see on TV today. Just try to picture it for a second. You're out on a field to play a game, but there's no referee. Not only that, but there are no lines on the pitch, and nobody's even decided how many players should be on a team. It was basically an organized riot where the rules changed from one town to the next. And get this, one of the most common practices was something called hacking. Now, today, hacking means kicking an opponent, and it'll get you a red card before you can even blink. But back then, it wasn't just allowed. It was a feature of the game. It was seen as a test of toughness, of masculinity, just a totally different world. So, to sum it all up, there was just no standard for anything. The rules were different everywhere you went. Teams didn't have matching kits to tell each other apart. The number of players on the field could be anything. It was pure chaos. And you can probably guess that a system like that just wasn't sustainable. Something had to change. All this chaos was really building to a head. The game was at a crossroads, and it had to decide, what did it want to be? This led to a massive, historic split that actually ended up creating two of the world's most popular sports. People did try to fix it. In 1848, they came up with something called the Cambridge Rules, which was a really solid first attempt to get everyone on the same page. But there was one big, fundamental disagreement that a single document just couldn't solve. And that brings us to 1863. This is the year. This is the year everything changed. A group got together in London for a meeting that would literally define the future of the sport. This was it, the moment of truth. And here is where the road forked. One group wanted a game all about skill, played with the feet, what they called the dribbling game, and crucially, they voted to ban hacking. The other group, they wanted to keep that raw physicality, the tackling, and the ability to run with the ball in your hands, so they walked out. And that group went on to form what we now know as rugby. And in that very moment, by deciding what it wasn't, the sport of football was truly born. So the game had its identity. It was going to be about skill, not just brute force. Great. But that led to the next big challenge. How do you actually enforce these new rules when the game gets heated? Now, you might find this hard to believe, but the very first games had no referee at all. It was considered a gentleman's sport, and it basically ran on an honor system. If there was a dispute, the two team captains were expected to sort it out themselves. As you can probably imagine, that system started to fall apart pretty quickly once matches got more competitive. The solution didn't happen overnight. It came in steps. First, in 1871, they brought in two umpires who would stand on the sidelines and act as mediators. But the real game changer came in 1878, the whistle. For the very first time, there was a single, loud, unmistakable sound of authority on the pitch. The modern referee had officially arrived. All right, let's jump forward a little bit to another huge year for fairness in the game, 1891. The invention of the penalty kick was just a stroke of genius. Think about it. The big problem was, how do you properly punish a foul that denies a clear goal-scoring opportunity? The answer was the penalty kick. It created this incredibly dramatic, high-stakes consequence for breaking the rules near the goal. And boy, did it change defensive tactics forever. Okay, so by this point, the game is way safer and much fairer. So the rule makers started to think about the next step. The changes weren't just about control anymore. They were about making the game more exciting, more strategic, and more, well, beautiful.
Ah, the offside rule. Everyone's favorite thing to argue about, right? Well, this one change was absolutely monumental. The original rules said you needed 3 opponents between you and the goal to be onside. This made it super easy for defenses to trap attackers and led to a lot of low-scoring, pretty defensive games. By changing it to just 2 opponents, the rule makers basically blew the doors open for more attacking football and, you guessed it, more goals.
And the tweaks just kept on coming. You know, things that seem small now but were big deals then, like making it so you couldn't be offside in your own half of the field, or that you couldn't be offside from a throw-in. All these little changes had one goal in mind, to give the attacking team a slight advantage and keep the game flowing forward. And in 1872, the game introduced one of the most exciting and dramatic set pieces in all of sports, the corner kick. Oh, I love this story. So, for decades after the corner was invented, you actually couldn't score a goal directly from it. But in 1924, they changed the rule. Almost immediately after, an Argentinian player named Cesario Onzari scored directly from a corner against Uruguay, who happened to be the Olympic champions. The goal was nicknamed El Gol Olímpico, the Olympic goal, and it just perfectly shows how one tiny rule change can create a whole new legendary moment in sports history. And here's the thing. This process of refining, of tinkering, of evolving the game, it has never, ever stopped. The quest to perfect the rules of football is a story that's still being written today. I mean, just think about the changes in our lifetimes. From introducing the nail-biting penalty shootout in 1970 to decide drawn matches, all the way to the arrival and all the controversy of the video assistant referee, or VAR, in 2018. It just goes to show you that football is a living, breathing sport, always trying to find that perfect balance between fairness and pure excitement. So, from banning hacking to bringing in video replays, the rules have completely shaped football's incredible journey. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As technology gets better and tactics get smarter, what's the next big rule change that's waiting just around the corner? What's going to define the next chapter of the beautiful game?